Hello, YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, um, let's get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I teach sisters how to heal from addiction to self-hate with racial sobriety and personal empowerment. So what is racial sobriety? Racial sobriety is your ability to embrace, to celebrate, to enjoy a blackalicious life, unapologetic blackalicious life. So just to, for those of you that don't know my story, I came into recovery from addiction to dysfunctional relationships back in 2009. And as part of that process, I realized that there wasn't the cultural aspect as part of the process. Obviously, everybody's got a different process, but I realised that for me as a black woman, and for a lot of the other black people that I know in recovery, there wasn't really a safe space for us to be able to have these conversations. So after being in recovery for some time, I started having these sorts of conversations, and I realised that my recovery, my healing process just skyrocketed when I started having these conversations. And so now what I've done is I didn't want to keep this to myself, and I didn't just want to keep it in the recovery rooms. So now I share my experience, strength and hope, and I've created different programs and I've created different systems that actually have now been created and built with the cultural aspect for us in mind. So that means that we talk about racial sobriety. I talk about the link between racism and addiction, and I use that as an opportunity to empower our people, and so that we can get well and that we can stand in our greatness. So that feels really good. It feels really good to be able to do that. So that's my story. So before we really get into the content, I'm now going to go through some housekeeping. And today's topic, by the way, is 5 ways that my business grew when I learned to love myself. It just came to me earlier on today. And, I've been talking to, quite a few other business owners and stuff over the last few weeks about different things. And I realised that a lot of them are struggling. They're struggling because they don't yet understand, they don't know how to love themselves. And so, so it was important for me to be able to share this stuff so people can begin to really understand how much loving yourself is important is being an entrepreneur. So hi, thanks for joining. So before I really get into the content, I'm just going to go through some housekeeping. So I've got 2 workshops coming up in October. One of them on the 20th of October is a mother and daughter workshop. So if you have a challenging relationship with your mum, and you want the opportunity to be able to learn how to set boundaries, to understand the wound, and to learn how to, start to really take care of yourself around that relationship, then this workshop is going to be perfect for you. The workshop itself is actually going to be run by an amazing friend of mine, beautiful sister, Faith Agugu. She's done some work, with me previously at the Art of Greatness, and that was really, really beautiful. It was an opportunity for the people that I serve to be able to meet somebody else who's very, very important to me, and to also share her gifts with my community. And that was a really wonderful experience. So of course I had to get her in again. She lives in Australia. She's come all the way from Australia to do this. So this is going to be on the 20th of October. So if you're interested in doing that live, this is a live workshop in London. It's not online, it's a live workshop. So if you're interested in that, you need to go to events.juneallen.net. So that's the one on the 20th of October. The second workshop that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be launching a Sacred Sister Circle, which is also a book club. So this is really important to me because, I'm doing this on the back of hearing from other sisters that they really wanted somewhere, a safe space to be able to start to do the work. It's not just going to be like an ordinary book club where we get together, read the book, we have a chat about the book, and then we go home. I wanted it to be something a lot deeper than that. And so The book is kind of there to kind of anchor the conversation, but we're going to be also looking at, you know, different ways that we can love ourselves as well. You get tools how to love yourself. You get characteristics of what does, you know, self-hate actually look like for us as black women. It's a black women only event as well, so it's important that it is a black women only space so that we can maintain the integrity of the sharing, so people can be honest and share their truth, and we haven't got to worry about, you know, am I going to upset white people? Because I've seen that happen in spaces that are supposed to be for just for black people, and then white people show up. God knows why they show up, but they do show up in these spaces that are predominantly for having these types of conversations. So I've been very clear that, you know, and I make no apologies for it, that space is specifically only for black women. And the event is only both the events actually, both the workshops are only 5 minutes from Bond Street Tube. So if you're interested in those two events, then go to events.juneallen.net, links in the description, and I look forward to seeing you there. So, for those of you that's just joined, I'm about to get into the content. My name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I teach black women how to heal from addiction to self-hate with racial sobriety and personal empowerment. So today's topic is 5 ways that my business grew as I learned to love myself. And this topic was so important to me because I've had a few conversations with sisters over the last couple of weeks, and they're in a lot of pain. Entrepreneurship's hard enough as it is. It's hard enough as it is, but to be a black woman, living under the system of racism and being an entrepreneur is hard. And this conversation, I think it's important to have this conversation because, you know, there are a lot of us that are still struggling with, with low self-esteem and, you know, just feel that we don't love ourselves. A lot of us don't love ourselves. And so if you're an entrepreneur and you've got that going on, it's difficult to show up in your business. It's difficult to be present in your business. It's going to be difficult for you to connect with your clients, to connect with your audience if you've got that stuff going on. So, and I hold my hands up to all of those things, by the way. And the reason why this broadcast was so important for me to do is because it's important for me to share, you know, how my business has grown, how you know, the way that I connect with people has grown since I've been doing this work, and how the idea of kind of loving myself, how that has kind of just created an environment where I just attract a completely different type of experience in entrepreneurship. The more I love myself, the more miracles are beginning to happen. And I can honestly say, I would say over the last 6 months in particular, I have experienced so much transformation, and I've experienced so much more joy around my work because things are really starting to happen. And don't get me wrong, the transition has also been quite painful at times, and that's been really, really hard. But it's also been really quite miraculous from where I came from to being in a situation now where I'm having loads of conversations and doing lots of live streams, regular live streams, you know, on here, and being able to connect with people. So I just wanted to share, you know, how loving myself and how when you love yourself, if you are an entrepreneur, what a difference it's going to make in your business. You know, if you're watching on the replay as well, you know, just drop in the comments, or, you know, whether you're watching live, drop in the comments, you know, are you an entrepreneur? Do you find it difficult to connect with your audience because of your own issues around loving yourself and stuff like that? You know, if this is something that you resonate with, then, you know, this broadcast is really gonna help you. So so ultimately I think it's important to remember first and foremost is that the growth of your business is going to be dependent on the type of relationship that you have with your clients. It's not about the product. It's about what is the relationship like with your audience, and how do you nurture that relationship? How do you feed your audience? How do you connect with them? How often are you consistent? All of that kind of sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's like, do your audience know that you care? Do you care about your audience? Not just do you care about, are they getting their money out? Do you actually care what happens to them? Because they know, your audience knows if you care about them or not. Because ultimately, I've seen it. I've seen it happen where people are constantly, trying to flog a product, and it's all about them trying to sell the their audience something, but they're not actually taking the time to nurture the relationship. They're not taking the time to nurture the relationship. And this is the first thing. This is the first thing. The first way that that my business has really started to grow, because as I began to love myself, I understood that, or I began to see that the relationship that I had with my audience just went to another level. Because I had love for myself, I was kind of being able to communicate with people at a different level, and it wasn't about. I was just able to show up from a place of love, and not from a place of fear or feeling lack. Like, oh my God, I need to do these Facebook Lives because, I've got this bill to pay or that bill to pay, or, I need to do. So it almost becomes like this really uncomfortable kind of sales bashing, experience. And I don't know, you can just smell the fear. You can just smell the fear from somebody that's just constantly, bashing their timeline with with selling, and you just, and I sometimes see people selling, they're putting the same memes up. They're not connecting with their audience. They're not telling any stories. They're not sharing anything. And this is, I'm not saying this stuff to kind of throw shade on anybody that does that. But I'm just, it's important to say this stuff, because I know what's worked for me, and it might not work for everybody, but I'm saying this stuff because I want other black businesses to understand the importance of it, the importance of building the relationship with our audience, building the relationship with our community, and it is a relationship just like anybody else, and it's not about manipulating people. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to be nice to people and hope they buy. It's not that either. It's like, for me anyway, it's like, just not forget about it, but just like the priority shouldn't be, oh, I need to make some coins. That's the thing. The priority should not be, oh, I need to make some coins, so I need to do this, I need to do that. It's like, what is your overall message? What problem are you trying to solve? What problem are you trying to solve? How can you build a relationship? It's like any other relationship. If you meet someone for the first time and you kind of like them, you're not just gonna jump into bed with. Or I suppose there's some of you that might do that, but if you want a quality, healthy relationship with that person, you're gonna take your time. You're gonna take your time, and you're gonna find out what do they like to eat. What makes them happy? What do they like to read? Where do they like to go out and have fun? What music do they listen to? You've got to find out. It's important to build and nurture that relationship. And when I was in that place where I didn't love myself, and I was trying to connect with my audience, it was painful. It was really painful to have those conversations, because I was so disconnected from myself and I didn't love myself. So I didn't know how to build a relationship with my audience. And so what's happened over the I would say more so over the last year, the more I've kind of really come into myself around loving myself as an entrepreneur. It's another layer. That's another layer of self-love. It's actually loving myself as an entrepreneur. I've been able to show up a lot more and be honest and connect with my audience a lot more from a place of caring about them and just really genuinely wanting them to win. genuinely wanting them to win, and genuinely wanting people to heal, genuinely wanting people to feel good about themselves, about being feel good about being a black person, and to let go of all of the stuff that's keeping them small. I genuinely care. I genuinely care about my sisters. And you know, that stuff was driven from a place of, you know, having a painful relationship with my mum, you know, having a, you know, a difficult relationship with my sisters, with my siblings, because, you know, our family's got a lot of codependency in it. And so, you know, I wasn't, you know, I've just felt invisible on many levels within my family. And so, you know, I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of pain around, you know, other black women. A lot of pain around other black women, which made it difficult for me to show up in my business because I had a lot of wounds around black women. So it was hard for me not to bring that stuff. And a lot of it was unconscious. I didn't know at the time, but I was bringing all of that stuff around the pain that I had around my family and around my siblings and all the rest of it. I was bringing that stuff into how I connected with other people, because I was afraid of being rejected. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being abandoned. You know, the other week I talked a lot about abandonment issues and all of that. That stuff kind of creeps in if you're not doing the internal work and to maintain that level of self-love. It's going to be really hard to connect with your audience, you know, and run, you know, create a really healthy, boundaried business, you know, but it's got meaning to it. If you you know, you're coming up from it from a place of fear, from a place of lack. So that's really important, you know. So I have so much more deeper connections with my audience now, because of that, because I have so much more love and respect for myself, and that takes time to do that. But I was so willing to do the work and not be attached to the outcome, and that is really hard to do this work and not be attached to the outcome. But I just kept showing up. I kept showing up at my therapist. I kept showing up at my recovery meetings. I kept showing up with the people that asked me to do stuff, even when I was scared. I kept showing up because I loved myself, and I didn't want the old me to continue repeating the behavior that was basically keeping me small as an entrepreneur. I didn't want that old stuff, that old pain, to be in the driving seat of where my entrepreneurship was going to take me. I wanted to grow, so I had to be willing to have that internal conversation with myself about, you know, the old me is not in the driving seat anymore. I had to put the old me in the passenger seat so that I could be in charge of the destiny, whatever my higher power, you know, whatever my gift is, to kind of stand in the power of that. But I had to put that part of myself that constantly wanted to sabotage and all the rest of it, I had to put that side of myself aside. But it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes compassion and consistency, all of these things to keep going. But I feel really grateful now that I do have a much deeper connection with my audience now because of that. And it's just been amazing. It's been really amazing. So number 2, the second thing is that, yeah, I touched on a little bit before about, you know, bringing all of the family triggers and stuff into my the way that I connect with my audience. One of the things that happens when I really started to love myself and take care of myself is that I'm able to separate those two. You know, I can take the old family triggers to a safe space to be able to process that, and then as I'm dealing with my audience and working with different people, I'm able to hold that space for them in a different way. I'm able to hold that space for them in a different way because I'm not getting triggered by the old stuff, because I'm aware. My self-love means that I'm so much more aware of who I am. I'm aware of my old pain. I'm aware of my old triggers. I'm aware of, you know, what my inner child feels about, you know, working with other black people, working with other black women. And so, again, you know, that old stuff is not in the driving seat. It's not in the driving seat. And I can talk about it and share about it so honestly because it just doesn't trigger me the way that it used to. You know, it doesn't trigger me. And I find it quite interesting, you know, when I talk to other black entrepreneurs, they, you know, I can see that they're still really triggered by, by other black people. They're really triggered by other black people. And, there's also that stereotype around, a lot of black people, getting really bad customer service from other black people. Hold your hand up, put your hand up, or put a yes in the comments if you've had really bad customer service from other black people, because that is a stereotype that a lot of people talk about. The fact that other black businesses are rude and all of that kind of, and I've personally experienced it myself. But the more I've actually realized, the more I've loved myself, the more I realize that other black businesses that behave that way, they're probably getting triggered by stuff that hasn't got nothing to do with me. And that's why they're behaving that way towards me. They're behaving that way towards me because they've got old stuff, old triggers that they haven't dealt with, that then becomes projected onto me. So it's not that that they've got a personal thing towards me specifically. They're just acting out their own stuff that they haven't dealt with. And so the more I've actually learned to love myself, and the more I've continued doing the internal work, I have more compassion. I have a lot more compassion for people. It doesn't mean that I make excuses for them and I kind of, allow people to behave badly or anything like that. But it just means that I have more of an understanding and have more of awareness, the reasons why people behave a certain way. Now, obviously, a lot of that, I don't know all of their history, and there's probably a lot of stuff that I'm making up in my head about what I think is going on for them. But ultimately, I'm just more compassionate, and this is what I put down as number 3. I'm more compassionate to other black businesses, because I understand that the trauma that we're going through, the trauma that a lot of us have in our history, be it ancestral or current, the fact that we're still living under the system of racism, the pressure as black women, as black businesses, to kind of do well, and we want the community to support us and all of this kind of stuff. I kind of understand that, there's another level of pressure that a lot of, black entrepreneurs have to go through, because we're still trying to run our businesses under the system of racism. And there's that fear that, other black people might not support us. I've been through all of those stuff, and it is quite scary to go through those things. But ultimately, it's about me. I had to surrender to the fact that I know that this is what my higher power wants me to do. I understand that this is the gift that God has given me, that my higher power has given me, and I can't hide from it. Trust me, I've spent a long time trying to hide from doing this work, but every time I try and hide from doing this work, it's like my higher power just brings me back to it, and it's just like, no, this is your assignment. This is your assignment, to be able to connect with other people, and to use my recovery and to use my experience, strength, and hope to empower other people. To love themselves and to take care of themselves, to give them the tools so they can start to rebuild their legacy, be it with their families or as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, this stuff is so crucial. This was so crucial to my my growth around my business, because there's no way that I would be doing any of these Facebook Lives if I hadn't done that internal work, if I hadn't been able to love myself enough to show up even when I'm scared. I had to not only be compassionate to my audience, and to be compassionate to the situation that we're in as black people, but also I had to learn to be compassionate to myself. And I can only be compassionate to other people when I practice it to myself. And that has been such a turnaround for me in terms of engagement with people and stuff like that, because a lot of us as black people, we've become so hardened. We've experienced so much pain, and we've become so hardened by life, by our experiences, that we don't know what compassion feels like. We don't know what compassion feels like, and we don't know how to express it to our audience. We don't know how to express it to our community, because we don't know how to do it ourselves. So compassion, kindness, all of that kind of stuff is so important, such an important part of how we grow as entrepreneurs and how we connect with our audience. Because and for us, our community, you know, we need it more than anybody, because we're still, you know, because we live under the system of racism, and because we're not just dealing with it from a social perspective, but the internalized racism that goes on within our families. That stuff, you know, the way that we treat each other, a lot of that is internalized. That self-hate being projected out within our families. It's been recycled. So that if we're entrepreneurs, and, you know, as black entrepreneurs, if we're also serving our community, our black community, it's even more reason for us to learn this stuff, to learn how to be more compassionate, to learn how to practice kindness, and to be overly patient, and just willing to be just be patient. We've just got to be more patient with each other and not be so dismissive of each other. That doesn't mean that we put up with abuse or, you know, people that haven't got the listening for it. Just set boundaries around those people. You know, I've had to do that. Set boundaries around businesses that are committed to, you know, sabotaging themselves, or, you know, showing up late, or just not being professional in business. You know, it's not that they you know, that they're consciously trying to do it, but when you don't love yourself, that's how it's going to play itself out. You're not able to show up. You're not able to show up for people, for your audience, or for your fellow entrepreneurs, because that self-hate is just it's just playing itself out in different ways, you know. So what I'm learning is, you know, I can be more discerning, I can be compassionate, but I can also be more discerning about who I choose to collaborate with, who I choose to work with. Because ultimately, once you get sober, you're able to make more choices that are going to bring you more abundance. You're not going to, because the chaos that's going on in your personal life is going to show up in the chaos that you know, the chaos of your collaborations and other people that you end up interacting with, because it's just a reflection of your own chaos. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's just going to be a reflection of your own chaos. So the more you love yourself, it's like you're going to get a reflection of that love. You know. And so yeah, so many of us are crying out to connect. Black people are crying out to connect with other black businesses. They need us. They want us. They want us to connect with them. But we have to be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And be patient, like I was saying before, and be compassionate, and be open and willing to hear them. Don't just create something and throw it out there and hope that and it sticks. Talk to them. Do they even want your product? Do your audience even want what you've got to sell? Are you just making this product because you need to make a coin? Are you just making the product because you need to make a coin, or do you genuinely care about what your audience is asking you for? Do you know what your audience's pain points are? Do you know what keeps them up at night? This is all part of the importance of the conversation of understanding who they are and then creating things that are going to help them live in their greatness, because that's ultimately what we want to do. The most of the time, you know, when I speak to other you know, black people about a lot of this stuff, most of them they just want to be able to, you know, to find peace. They just want to be good parents. They just want to be able to be in a relationship and love and be loved. And they just want to be themselves. They just want to find the courage to be themselves. And run their businesses, be successful, earn money, and help people. But in order to do that, again, the external abundance can only happen when the internal abundance is alive. And when I say internal abundance, I mean, you know, the gratitude, the being able to love yourself unapologetically and not kind of relying on other people to validate you, and all of that codependent stuff, that stuff that happens when, you know, you don't love yourself and you look into other people to validate you. And it's really hard as an entrepreneur sometimes to be able to create things for people and then not take it personally when people don't respond the way that you want them to. If you've got abandonment issues, or if you've got low self-esteem, that is going to be triggering as hell. That stuff is going to be triggering as hell, because when you've got low self-esteem, your whole existence becomes externalized. Your whole existence around entrepreneurship is externalized. So it's very, very hard to keep going when you've got all this stuff going on. When you're finding it so painful and so difficult to keep going as a business. But when you love yourself and you know that what you're doing is in alignment with your higher self, your spiritual self, there's a connection with your ancestors. You're not just trying to earn a coin. When you're in a position of service, that's when you know the money's going to come. That's one thing I'm noticing. That's in me as an entrepreneur. That's one thing that I'm noticing more recently. The more I just show up and serve, just ask my higher power and my ancestors to just come into the space and just say, look, tell me what to say. Tell me what to talk about. Tell me what I need to say to help me connect with I'm just handing this space over to my ancestors. Help me show up even though I'm scared. Help me talk even though I'm scared. Help me connect with people even though sometimes that feels scary, based on my history of being able to, the struggles that I've had in connecting with other people because of what happened within my family and stuff. I still sometimes get scared to connect with people, but it's not going to stop me from doing it, because I know that this is something that I've been called to do. This is something that I've been called to do, and this is something that is needed in the community. So I just keep showing up. And the more I show up, the more I show up and do it scared, and the more I connect with my community and show up and be honest, the money is taking care of itself. Like, the money's just, it's coming. The money is showing up. And I just, it doesn't feel, I don't feel like I'm having to get on here and, sell to people. It just doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that icky, oh my God, I've got to sell to people. It doesn't feel like that. I'm just showing up, and I feel like I'm being led by something that's greater than me. And that's one of the reasons why I think, and people are saying this to me, and sometimes I don't always believe it. They're like, oh, what you're doing is amazing, and it's good to hear that stuff, but there's still that little part of me that's like, oh, is it really going to work and all the rest of it? But I'm still showing up. I'm not letting the negativity dictate how this is going to go. I'm allowing my higher self and my ancestors, and the fact that I know that people need this stuff, they want to hear this stuff, I'm allowing that to kind of dictate how I show up. And I've just got to keep connecting. You just got to keep connecting. You got to keep showing up, being patient, I know I keep saying that, but black people need it. There isn't a day that goes past when you go on social media and some black person's not getting abused. So black people need black businesses to be extra patient, to be extra compassionate, to be extra loving, to be extra nurturing, because a lot of us don't know what that means. A lot of us haven't experienced it in our own homes. We don't know what it means in a relationship. So if you're serving the community at some level, especially if your business is about wellness, oh my God, just love on your audience. Love on yourself and love on your audience. Love on them. Not from a place of trying to manipulate them, but from a place of really wanting them to win. Really wanting them to win. Your audience need to understand that you care about them. Otherwise, they're not going to be interested. They can smell a sales pitch a mile off. They can smell a sales pitch a mile off. Forget that. You've got to show up and let them know that you're interested in their well-being, that you're interested and you want them to win. You want them to win in their business. You want them to... this is one of the things I love about my business coach. One of the things I love about that woman, my business coach is Lashonda Hendry. If you're watching, I've got so much respect for that woman, because she's not just teaching me how to show up as an entrepreneur, but she's teaching me how to... she's just... I don't know. I'm just trying hard not to get emotional, but she's showing me how to show up as a black woman confidently, and she doesn't just teach me the practical stuff. She teaches me also how to show up as a black woman. She teaches me how to, and she'll quite often not just share the strategies about how to, how to put a sales page together or whatever, but she'll quite often share the types of experiences that she's had with her with her black entrepreneurs that she deals with, the fears that they have, the difficulties they have, the challenges that they have, the mindset stuff that black women have. And that stuff is so valuable to me. That stuff is so valuable to me because I also need to understand how black entrepreneurship goes. And she's so honest about all of that stuff. If you're interested in finding out more about, who my business coach is and you want to work with her and all of that kind of stuff, go to sistersense.juneallen.net, and there's a PDF in there. I need to update it actually, so maybe do it tomorrow, not today. I need to update it because she's got a really great thing happening soon. And I'm going to talk to you more about that another time, but she's an amazing woman. She's an amazing woman. And, the more I love myself, the more I take care of myself, I'm able to show up and ask other people for help. And I get amazing people like my business coach show up in my space because I'm ready to receive it. If you don't love yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, you are not going to be in a position to be able to receive the love and the help and the support that's out there. There are so many people complain about other black businesses, but I am working with some amazing black women at the moment. I cannot thank my higher power enough and my ancestors enough. The people that I'm working with at the moment are so freaking awesome. They're showing up for me in ways that I never thought possible. Honestly, they're showing up for me in ways that I never ever thought possible. And this is what I'm coming to number 4 is, I'm having the courage to show up, and other people are showing up with me. These other black women are showing up with me, and I'm passing that on to people that I'm other entrepreneurs that I'm working with. I want to pass that on to other people that are also willing to do the work and that are open to doing the work. But I just, honestly, miracles start to happen when you really start to love yourself. I just can't express it enough how beautiful it is when you really start to love yourself and take this stuff on unapologetically. And you really start to take this stuff on, and the people that just show up in your life. Today I had an amazing lunch with somebody. I had a lunch with the ladies doing the workshop, actually, the mother and daughter workshop. We just briefly met for lunch, and I've grown that this woman has become like a big sister to me. I've got so much respect for her, and I love her now. We've been working together on various things, and we've got so many amazing projects that we're thinking about going forward. And this woman, she pushes me because she's got my back. She's got my back, and she wants me to win, and she cares. She cares. If you really want to start building a circle of people, a circle of sisters that are going to support you, I beg you, come to these workshops. Events.juneallen.net. You need to meet this woman. If you have a challenging relationship with your mum, you need to be at this workshop. And we talked about, today she shared some of the stuff she's going to be doing in the workshop. And I'm just like, do you know what? You people need to come to this workshop because she's just an amazing human being. She is just an amazing human being. And the work that she's doing in Australia, and the work that she's really something else. So, if you want to meet this woman, come to the workshop on the 20th of October. So to start doing that work, it's really amazing. So, number 4 is about love and courage and showing up and all the rest of it. When you really begin to show up, other people are going to show up for you, but you got to show up for yourself first. You got to show up for yourself first. You got to be willing to show up for yourself first, and you got to be willing to keep showing up. Not just the once and go, I showed up, it didn't work. You got to be consistent. You got to keep showing up, even when you're scared, even when it hurts. You got to show up. You have got to show up. That's non-negotiable. There's too many of us out here sort of like, oh, well, you know, I showed up once and it was really painful, and you just got to push through. There are times when you need to nurture yourself and step back, and there are times when you need to go, I know this is painful, but you need to push through. I can't tell you how painful it was for me to start doing these Facebook Lives. You speak to my business coach about this. A year or so ago, I could not have done these Facebook Lives because I was just like, oh no, I don't want to, I couldn't even do video, let alone lives. I could not have done video, let alone doing lives. And then she challenged me about 6 months ago. She was like, I'm going to challenge you to do 8 Facebook Lives. I think it was around my sobriety anniversary. It was like, yeah, that's what it was. I had an anniversary. It was my 8-year anniversary of sobriety in recovery. So she was like, okay, so I'm going to challenge you to do, it's 8 years, 8 days, do eight Facebook Lives. And I was absolutely terrified. I was terrified that people were going to come on and trolls were going to abuse me. I was scared that people wouldn't really want to know what I had to say. I was scared of getting it wrong. I was scared of blurting out. All of that. I was scared of all of that stuff. But I did it anyway. And that in of itself has changed the relationship that I have with my audience, because I've had more people in my inbox. I've had more people, inquiring about what I'm doing. I've had more people inboxing me saying, oh my God, I really relate to that. Oh my God, I'm thank you for sharing that, because, I felt that way. And honestly, changed the game. And I also understand that it's not about me. This is not an ego thing. The reason why this is amazing is because I have an opportunity to serve. I have an opportunity to build relationships with people. I have an opportunity to be compassionate and be loving to women that might not have experienced it. That might not have experienced that love from another sister. I hear this all the time about black women saying, oh, I don't really get on with other black women. And I was one of those women. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't understand the pain that I had around my mum and my family was bleeding into the relationships that I just couldn't have relationships with other black women. But and today, look, I'm having this conversation with you. I've got an amazing business coach. I'm working with Faith around this workshop that we're going to be doing on the 20th. This stuff works. But it has to begin from a place of self-love. And I'm not just talking about loving yourself in the sense that, I'm going to go and have a massage. Not that that's not self-love. I'm talking about doing the stuff that you don't want to do, i.e. looking at the pain. Loving yourself enough to transform the pain that's been stopping you from being great. That's what real self-love is. Self-love is doing the internal work that you don't want to do. Looking at the pain, facing the abuse that you don't want to look at. All of that ugly stuff that you don't want to look at. That's what real self-love is. And that's the only reason why I'm able to have these conversations with you today, because I had the courage. I had to find the courage from somewhere to do that work. And still doing the work. I haven't stopped. I'm still very much active in that process. And the more I love myself and the more I do that internal work, the more I'm going to get blessed. Because my external experience is going to reflect my internal relationship that I have with myself. So the more I show up, the more I'm going to attract other people that either want to get to that place so I can serve them and help them, or people in entrepreneurship that are going to want to collaborate with me because they can see that I am doing the work and they can see that what I'm doing works. And I want to work with those people as well. And that's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. I'm kind of being connected to people who also want to do this work. And it is freaking amazing how it works. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. So this stuff works, man. This stuff works. So the last thing, number 5, is basically all the stuff that I've just said about collaborations and stuff like that. You know, that's number 5. It's just about being open. It's just doing the internal work and just being open to receiving what the universe is going to give you. This is what I suppose this is what law of attraction is about. That the deeper you're willing to dig, the more you're going to get blessed. This is one of my quotes actually, the deeper you dig, the higher you'll rise. The deeper you dig, the higher you'll rise. Forget the fluff. Forget the fluffy motivational stuff. Let's start doing the work. Let's start doing the work. Honestly, I've experienced so much more joy in the last couple of weeks than I think I ever have in my lifetime. And it's because I'm starting to really do this stuff, and I absolutely love what I do. I'm really starting to experience joy around this stuff. I absolutely love it. I love the transformation. I love the fact that there's hope. I love the fact that, you know, I can share an experience, or I can share, and this is not an ego thing. It's, you know, there's something in me that loves seeing other people win. I love seeing people get transformed by this stuff. And every time I see like a new face or somebody else opt into my email, it's just like, thank you, higher power, for giving me the opportunity to share what I've learned with somebody else. And it's going to help somebody else feel better about themselves. Might make somebody else be a better parent. It might help somebody else, you know, connect with their audience better, you know, with their customers. That's how I feel about it. That's how strongly I feel about it. Because I want our people to win. Enough with white people doing all this bullshit. I want us to win. And the only way you're going to win is to start from within. That's a good one, isn't it? The only way you're going to win is to start from within. Then the external stuff is going to take care of itself. There's so much more I could say on this broadcast, but I've got another commitment in 4 minutes. I've got to come off. So, yeah, just to run through the 5 things again. So, number 1, you can have deeper connections with your audience when you love yourself. Number 2, you're going to understand the family triggers, the difference between the stuff that went on with your family and this, you know, the stuff that you're doing with your audience, with your community. That stuff, you can separate it when you love yourself. When you're self-aware, you can understand that stuff. Number 3, you're going to be more compassionate. God, don't us black people need it. You know, it's going to be more compassionate. Number 4, you're going to have the courage to show up in your business when you're scared. You can show up in your business when you're scared. And number 5, the last one, you're going to attract people that just are going to be able to bless you in ways that you just, oh my God, honestly, you're going to attract different people to your business, and you're going to attract different clients as well. You're going to attract a different audience because they're going to understand that you care. And they're going to understand that what you're doing is you're not just trying to earn a coin, that you want to help people solve their issues. You want to help people solve their issues, and you want people to win. The coin is something else. Just focus on, be clear about what your purpose is. Get clear about what your purpose is. And bring your ancestors and your higher power into it. And then just let your ancestors bless you with that stuff. Let your ancestors come and nurture you. And let your sisters nurture you. Let me nurture you. If it's not me, let somebody else nurture you. But start doing the internal work and asking for help. Start doing the internal work and asking for help, because you deserve it. You deserve it. You know, and you might not feel this stuff straight away. You're not going to love yourself after 5 minutes, or maybe after watching this broadcast. It's not going to happen. But you just got to keep showing up and taking the actions that are going to nurture your ability to love yourself until it clicks. And oh my God, when it clicks, I'm going to be so happy for you, because it's so awesome. When you feel that stuff, oh my God, just things are just going to change. Things are going to change for you when that stuff really kicks in. It's like, oh my God, is this what it really feels like to love yourself? Oh my, yes, please. I'll have some more of that, please. You know? So anyway, I've got to go because I've got a commitment in 1 minute. So thank you again, ladies, for joining me. I always enjoy connecting with you. Yeah, so take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of what's left of the evening. I've got so much love for you, and just take care, and I will speak to you soon. Take care. Bye. Bye, YouTube people. I don't even know how to start. How do I stop this? Oh, I don't know how to stop there.